and I won't back down. Hey, baby, there ain't no easy way out.
Hey everybody, thanks so much for joining us right here on The Right View. Tonight we're joined by political commentator Sabrina Kosmas, as well as host of the brand new, we're very excited for him, Alex Marlow show, Alex Marlow himself. Sabrina and Alex, welcome to both of you. I was really excited about the Time magazine cover. I'll be very honest with everyone. Donald Trump, of course, is the person of the year for Time magazine. And it's amazing because it is so well deserved, Alex, as far as I'm concerned. I've seen this man go through so much. I've seen our country, honestly, go through so much. We saw Donald Trump do a press conference on Monday, and in that press conference, it was an hour and 15 minutes. It finally felt, I feel like, to so many people in America, like we actually had a leader back. I don't think Joe Biden has given us as much information in 4 years as Donald Trump gave in an hour and 15-minute press conference at Mar-a-Lago. But the amazing thing to me is in his interview with Time magazine, they basically asked him about his comeback. And they were like, you know, this is quite a comeback for you. And Donald Trump's response is so Donald Trump. He says, I've always been here. Don't call it a comeback. This is how it's always been. I am so excited to see it. And I also think it's really funny, Alex, that you have a lot of liberals canceling their Time magazine subscription. What did you think of the person of the year going to Donald Trump?
Yeah, well, first of all, the Time magazine, no one reads the articles. No one cares about the articles. We only care about the cover. So why would you cancel? Why would you have a subscription? You've never opened it. You just look at the cover. We can look at it online. But the cover is the story here. It's not just that he was person of the year. Of course, he should have been. That was obvious. He's been it before. He's been on the cover many, many times in different contexts. But it's the hero shot, the photo of him looking incredibly presidential, almost like a monument or something. I mean, like that could be the photo that turns into some monument down the road of President Trump. And so that was very cool. That I thought was really the establishment media giving the devil his due. Of course, he's not the devil to us. He's a hero to us. But to them, he's absolutely the devil. And they did meet. He beat him fair and square. There's no two ways about it. And so that's kind of where we begin. So it's great news. Congrats to your whole family, and congrats to the president on that great cover.
Yeah, no, I thought it was awesome. Thank you. It's funny because the people who were upset, Sabrina, about this, I thought, of course, are slightly ridiculous. And I get it. A lot of people didn't vote for Donald Trump, but a majority of America did vote for Donald Trump. Even people were comparing him to, they were like, go back and look at the cover of Time magazine, the person of the year in 1939. It was Adolf Hitler. I'm wondering, like, is it ever enough? Like, are they ever going to get it? Because I actually, Sabrina, oddly feel like the mainstream press has at least gotten punched in the face enough in the wake of this election that I got to be honest, the press conference I saw my father-in-law do on Monday, really it felt like they were a little more civil to him than they've ever been. They were taking his answers and they weren't twisting them around. I even clicked through to a couple different networks to see like how were they covering it. And actually the chyron underneath my father-in-law was what he said. It wasn't some manufactured, twisted around version of what he said. So I don't know. I'm feeling hopeful. I know there was a Fox News poll that said the majority of voters in this country right now are feeling hopeful. How are you feeling after all of this? And do you feel like there's this moment where we may have actually seen a shift within our legacy media where they're going to actually realize, you know what, it may be better off for us that Donald Trump is back. We will actually have something to cover and someone to engage with us. But do you feel like there's been a shift with them at all? Because I'm kind of getting this vibe, and I don't want to get too excited about it, but I'm getting a little excited.
I'm getting a little excited as well. I mean, there are the different stages of grief, and I think that the mainstream media has moved from denial to at least acceptance at this point. Now, unfortunately, a lot of the subscribers to Time Magazine are still in the denial phase because as we all know, Time Magazine has been picking Time Person of the Year for almost 100 years at this point. And it comes down to who was the most influential. And if we learned anything from this election cycle, it was that Donald Trump is one of the most influential people in all of history, let alone this year. So it's kind of funny to see. I think the mainstream media, however, is starting to wake up, especially as a lot of their shows and these very far left shows on MSNBC and CNN are seeing their ratings completely plummet, especially the last couple of years. I mean, they're at the point where they have to accept and move forward. And I don't think it's shocking that people are feeling hopeful, especially when we had even NBC was polling that 2/3 of Americans before the election were unhappy with the direction that the country was going at, which if NBC is reporting 2/3 of Americans, it's probably even higher than that. So unfortunately, I think they've had a harsh realization that, okay, the tides have turned and you're either going to be left behind or you got to turn with them.
Yeah, even 1 in 5 Democrats, Alex, said that they were hopeful now that Donald Trump was in the White House. And I continue to maintain, or will be in the White House. It feels like he's already there, though. Like, where in the heck is Joe Biden? Why hasn't Joe Biden, Alex, come out already and said anything, given some sort of a press conference, a statement of any variety after this election? I mean, we saw that he was very chummy with Donald Trump whenever, my father-in-law went and met with him. I don't know. I don't get what's going on. It feels to a lot of people like Donald Trump is just already in office, even though he hasn't been inaugurated. Do you think Joe Biden is going to do anything before he leaves? He's got 35 days or so left.
Yeah, well, my jokey answer is that Joe Biden's still wandering around the Amazon when he was down there, and he seemed to wander off in the jungle. And Donald Trump
he did
obviously
it at Normandy too.
Yeah, exactly. And yeah. I just watched a lot of that press conference he just gave. He looks incredibly presidential. He is so fleet of foot. He's so poised. He's clearly the top of his game. But my more cynical answer is that this is all a trap and that Joe Biden's doing immeasurable amounts of damage right now. We're accelerating importing illegal immigrants to take jobs that should be for Americans and are going to drive down American wages. We saw the record level of pardons and commutations. We're seeing him escalating the war with Ukraine and Russia, more chaos in Syria. The list just goes on and on of all the horrible things that he's doing right now. And if we act like Trump is already president, we're going to miss some of this stuff. So we got to be very diligent here.
Yeah, you're right. I know that they're also trying currently, knowing that DOGE is coming in and they want to eliminate a lot of unnecessary federal workers. They're trying to secure those jobs for these people and say like, oh, you can't fire these people. What an egregious thing to do to this country that these people are doing. You're right, Alex. I think we have to keep our eye on the prize.
And all the spending, they're trying to, all this money that's been appropriated but hasn't yet been allocated. They're trying to get all that money out the door in select areas. And this is something this is a real problem, and Trump needs to try to reverse as much as he can on day one, but some of it's going to be locked in. So Biden's unfortunately acting quite presidential still.
Oh, unfortunately, because we all know his version of presidential, and it's very detrimental to our country. Yes. I think it's really smart, though, that Donald Trump it seems like he's giving himself quite a runway to get going in his last 4 years. And by the way, I saw some article, either was this morning maybe or yesterday, talking about how some of Trump's allies are trying to posture for him to have a third term in the White House. Let me be very clear with everybody. Donald Trump will serve 4 years in the White House and he will leave. The fact that anybody's even talking about this, I think is kind of crazy. But he understands, Sabrina, that there is so much to get done, that there is so much damage that, this country has had done to it over the past 4 years. He really is giving himself a lot of lead time and trying to start working on things right now, even though he's not officially president. I think it's going to be a great thing. We saw that, you have people coming to the table. You have all the tech folks coming to meet with Donald Trump. Everybody now wants to come in and be friendly with him. And look, a lot of these people I wouldn't trust as far as I could throw them. But I do think it's good that they're actually coming and sitting down and talking to him, because it means they respect him and they understand he means business. And I think that's a very strong thing. I'll tell you, one of the things I really loved over the weekend at the Army-Navy game was not just that Donald Trump went and that, of course, Joe Biden has never apparently shown up there, which is kind of crazy, but that alongside my father-in-law was Daniel Penny, Sabrina, who, of course, this is the guy who was found not guilty in New York. I think it was last week, accused of killing the man on the subway, of course, in a chokehold situation. I will tell you, in the wake of that decision, I feel very hopeful for this country as well. Like, oh, people get it. I don't know that he would have been found not guilty even a year ago, to be really honest. But I love that my father-in-law had him there alongside of him. I really wonder for this guy, for Daniel, what life will be like, how hard it's going to be for him, what threats he may have against him. What did you think of that move, Donald Trump showing up at the Army-Navy game, first and foremost, and then having his crew, including Daniel Penny, alongside?
I thought it was awesome. I mean, what is more American than football and the military? So to put the two together, it was a no-brainer that President Trump would be there and Joe Biden would not be.
Yeah.
I mean, it's so interesting. Some of the moves that, Kamala not going to the dinner for, what was that dinner? The
Al
Catholic
Smith
dinner, the Al Smith dinner. And then you
Yes.
have Joe Biden has never been to this like monumental game for the military. I mean, I think it just action speaks so much louder than words ever do. So I loved seeing Trump there. I loved seeing Vivek, JD Vance, Tulsi, the whole crew, the Avengers crew there. And I thought it was really refreshing to see the photos with Daniel Penny. I mean, this man's life could have gone such a different direction, even like you said, just a year ago. So to see him have to go through such an unfair trial just for doing his civic duty of defending other citizens, to see him get a hero's welcome at the game was really monumental.
I loved it. I loved every second of it. Something else, Alex, in that press conference with Donald Trump that he addressed were these drones. I mean, everybody's talking about this. The drones are all over the place, basically the entire eastern seaboard. I think they've been spotted as far south as Florida, and they're, New Jersey, DC, New York. They're everywhere. You even have Kathy Hochul saying like, oh, maybe we should do something about it. They had to shut down Stewart Airport in New York based on these drones flying around. But what was interesting is what my father-in-law said, which is he said, look, the government knows what's going on here. Believe me, they know exactly where these things took off. They know exactly where they've gone, and they know exactly what they're up to. And the fact that we have not, Alex, gotten any answers from our government, from the people who know what this is on this, it just leads people to start really freaking out a little bit. I mean, my gosh, it wasn't so long ago we had a Chinese spy balloon traversing America, going over, of course, our nuclear and our military sites. Now you've got these drones all over the place. No one knows what's going on with these things. But I thought it was interesting that the one person who actually came out with an answer was Donald Trump. And he said, yeah, I really do think that these things, they know exactly what these things are. The experts out there who know about the drones and the like are saying they're too large and too well organized to be hobbyists, that they're probably something more nefarious. Of course, my mind goes to China, goes to Iran, goes to those places. What's your thought on these drones thus far?
Yeah, well, the first thing is that the fact that the government's lying to us and doing it plainly is the main story here, in my opinion. Alejandro Mayorkas is a pathological liar. He's maybe the worst person of all the bad people in the government. He might be the single worst. And so he's the one who's kind of been messaging, and he's just saying, we hear you, we see you, we respect you, and we're not going to give you one iota of information. Not acceptable to me. We were told it's not the U.S. military. Okay, fine. But is it one of the three-letter agencies? Is it China? Is it Iran? Is it a bunch of kids jerking around? I don't think it's that, because we're told these things are the size of cars and the size of kitchen tables. So those aren't hobby drones. So what is it? They know. Of course they know. And why won't they tell us? And I find that to be incredibly insane, and it adds to my point about Biden sowing chaos. He's not tamping this down. He's letting it ramp up.
Yeah. And it's, you know what, Sabrina, this sort of thing, I think at any time in our history, you would find it scary to have unidentified flying objects in your midst in America. But in the wake of what has happened, again, with that spy balloon, with us not getting any answers, with there being absolutely no action really taken on any front, did they ever even talk to Xi Jinping about that? I doubt it. I doubt Biden did anything about it. This is the one that got me. I love it. I love a comment section. So I went to the comment section on an article about the drones. Here's what somebody says. They say, so let me get this straight. They can track every single aircraft in U.S. airspace, and they can read the number plate on your car from space. They have technology that can fire an artillery shell and redirect that shell in flight. And they can put a smart bomb or missile through a letterbox, and they can detect a missile launch halfway across the world the moment it leaves the silo. But they don't have a clue what these things are that are constantly flying around over several of their military bases in the US and also in Europe. This is exactly right. And I think this is why Alex's point is spot on. They're lying to us, Sabrina. They know what this is. So why aren't they talking about it?
I mean, it leads me to believe that there is something internally that is so nefarious going on. We are the United States of America. We should have the best intelligence agency in the entire world. Yet when they talk about these drones, they sound so unintelligent. I feel like when I saw the press conference with the Pentagon spokeswoman, it was like the reporters were playing a game of Guess Who, where they're like, Okay, so is it us? Well, it's not our military. Okay, does that mean it's one of these three-letter agencies like Alex said? Well, we don't believe it's a foreign adversary. You don't believe, is it? It's just, this is ridiculous. But thankfully, the American people have woken up and realized the level of gaslighting our government has done to us, that I at least feel a little reprieve in knowing that I'm not the only one that thinks I'm crazy for what I'm seeing or thinks that I'm just tired of being told that we are crazy when we look up in the sky and we see foreign drones and we're being misled to believe that it's a figment of our imagination or it's nothing out of the ordinary. It's very unordinary.
MyPillow is excited to announce that their Christmas extravaganza is finally here. Get this season's flannel sheets for as low as $59.98. They won't last long, so get them while you can. Their famous My Slippers, these haven't been on sale for over a year and are regularly priced at $119.98, but for a limited time are now only $59.98. And their 6-pack towel sets are back in stock with extremely limited quantities, only $29.98. With hundreds of MyPillow products, there's something for everyone on your Christmas list, from bathrobes, duvets, quilts, down comforters, and so much more. But that's not all. They're extending their 60-day money-back guarantee until March 1st, 2025. Plus, all orders over $75 or more ship absolutely free. Go to MyPillow.com or call 800-624-3945 and be sure to use promo code TRUMP to save on all MyPillow products. That's promo code TRUMP. Yeah, it's very out of the ordinary, and it's very, very frightening. I can't wait for January 20th because I had a hunch, Alex, we're probably not going to see a lot of that happening. Here's something that I feel like I could have been a single issue voter on many presidential election cycles now. Daylight savings time. All right, I'm just going to throw this out there. When you have kids, it becomes really, really rough. Maybe whenever you're, just like a single person out there hustling around. Yeah, it sucks to lose the hour of sleep in the spring. You're happy about the extra hour you get in the fall. Once you have children, it's like next level, because my kids, and by the way, my dogs, do not care that it's daylight savings time. I have a Beagle, Charlie, who still continues to wake me up around 5 o'clock in the morning because he knows what time he used to eat. It used to be 6 a.m., but now it's 5 a.m. And he's like, hey, lady, get up. I'm ready to eat. The studies go to show, Alex, that during the hour we lose in the spring, that day in particular, you have traffic incidents that go up. You have more visits to hospitals. There are so many different reasons that I feel very strongly we don't need a daylight savings time. And apparently this is something that Donald Trump is considering too. He says the Republican Party will use its best efforts to eliminate daylight savings time, which has a small but strong constituency, but shouldn't. Daylight savings time is inconvenient and very costly to our nation, Alex.
So this is a complicated one, and I'm very sympathetic to your position.
Yeah,
and
me too.
I've got the young kids too, and so I always joke that I got 11-month-old and she doesn't know what a weekend is, and I would just like to teach her what a weekend is, because just that extra hour of sleep be so nice. And a note, 6:15 on the dot, she's up if we're lucky. But so how do you unwind it? Because I prefer daylight savings time to standard time. So are we just going to skip an hour so that it's lighter in the evening? Because I like the light in the evening because I play sports and I would rather be outside with the kids. And if we go somewhere with a patio, then they can run around on the patio instead of being pitch black at 5. So we want to make it so that we get the extra hour of light. So that's kind of not the way. That means we're just ignoring an hour. We're just skipping ahead as a country. Because if we lock into no daylight savings time, that's the depressing one. That's the one where.
So then maybe we go with the daylight savings. You're saying I'm down with that.
Yeah, maybe.
I just want us to pick one.
But here's to play devil's advocate again is the when my kids wake up, they start school very early. It's a 7:35 start. I have no idea why this is.
It's dark.
They wake up in the dark. So so do we like that? So we're going to have to pick. And I think that's why we have this crazy system we have is there's not really a good answer. And I don't know which one we would pick. I'm always up for some sort of a change just because I'm a news person. And I think it's really exciting that Trump just wants to do this. That we're just going to change the time. It's so cool. But I don't know what's the right move. I don't know how it looks.
I hear your argument there. And I understand what you're saying, because just whenever it's like 7:15 and it's still dark out, then we get the extra hour and I'm like, oh, it's late. But then, you have less light at night, like you're saying. So you're taking one good, with the bad.
Yeah.
You're figuring it out. What I will say is that I believe, Sabrina, stay with me, that this was introduced back during the Industrial Revolution when people were like walking to factories. They didn't want them walking in the dark type of thing. If my history serves me correctly, I could be totally wrong. I think that's why this started, and I understand the necessity for it then. But look, what I'll say is, unless if you live in Alaska already, God bless you, because you're getting like 24 hours of daylight for part of the year, and you're getting basically no daylight for the rest of it. Those folks probably don't care, Sabrina. What's your feeling on this? Because I got to tell you, I'm still all for it. And I don't care whether we go with the daylight savings or the other one, but I feel like we need to just pick one and go with it. And I'd be very happy with that.
Well, I'm a toddler mom, so I
Oh.
am totally on your side with this, Lara. It ruins our week. It takes like a
Yeah.
week or two to recover and get
Oh.
adjusted. I don't see the purpose. I mean, as we were talking about nefarious things the government does, it makes you wonder, is this really necessary, or is it almost to throw people off their rhythm so that they just are easier to control or comply? Maybe that's just the dark, sinister side of me, because I just want that extra hour of sleep, and I know my kids are not going to adjust.
That's true. They never do. I feel like just when everybody's settling in, we go back the other way. But I digress. And my dog will always be on whatever time allows him to eat earlier. So that's what's happening. Look, I think that whatever we do here, Donald Trump would be the one to change the time. And I'm sure there will be people who will be very excited about it and some people who will be very upset about it. What I do think is a good thing is something that my father-in-law posted about, I believe, over the weekend. And he said any person or company investing $1 billion or more in the United States of America will receive fully expedited approvals and permits, including, but in no way limited to, all environmental approvals. Get ready to rock. Alex, this is the reason that people want Donald Trump back. This is great. This is going to be so good for our country. This is how you incentivize people to come invest in America. This is how we get the economy roaring again. It's how we get jobs back to the United States that are real jobs, not manufactured, not government jobs, like the tremendous amount of government jobs the Biden administration has given out. This is something Joe Biden wouldn't have even thought about doing. And it does take somebody with a mind like Donald Trump to say, you know, I'm just going to post about this. I'm just going to go with it because I think it'll be good for this country.
Yeah, one thing we do culturally in this country is we discourage people from being high energy and trying to achieve and trying to grow stuff. And I don't know when this came about, but maybe it's that we have too many lawyers. No offense to any lawyers in the audience. I don't know what it is, but I have a bunch of little businesses, and it's real pain every time you start one because it's always you got to have thousands of dollars in legal fees, and then you got to make sure you got permits if you want to build anything, and someone's objecting to something you're doing, and we can't just move. And the faster you start working, the more it brings into the economy, the more jobs get created. It grows the rising tide, raises all boats. Trump sees that very clearly. Musk sees it, obviously. So the people who are going to be helping him in that regard. So I'm very optimistic with this cabinet that he's going to continue these innovative ideas. But we need to cut red tape. Obviously, it's a huge problem in this country. We've got to encourage people to get out and start working and investing and make America the sexiest place to be to start your companies.
Yeah, we have to do it. I mean, you already saw that part of the reason I think the press conference happened the other day, Sabrina, is that you had the SoftBank CEO coming in and saying he's going to invest $100 billion here. And I think it's something like 100,000 American jobs will result from that. We have to make it enticing for people to want to come here to the United States, for Americans to reinvest here. So many people have sent their companies, their factories overseas. Look, I started about a year and a half, 2 years ago, working on a clothing line, just a fitness clothing line, LaraTrump.com if anybody's interested. But what I found is I wanted to manufacture everything here in the United States, and I wanted to source American fabrics and materials and all of it, right? It is incredibly hard to do. It is incredibly expensive to do. And I understand why so many people are incentivized to go overseas, to manufacture overseas. The number of people I met with who said, here's the cost if you make it here in America. Here's the cost if you make it over in Vietnam, for example. It's night and day. And of course, all of my stuff is American made because that's what I stand for. And that's what I represent. And that's synonymous with our family. But I get it. I get why so many people seek it, outside of the US. We do have to make it an incentive to come back here to America. And I think over the next 4 years, yes, Donald Trump is going to deal with the wars we see around the world. Yes, he's going to deal with our southern border crime. But I think one of the things that I hope our party takes from this man going forward is that we cannot have a country that is successful long term if we don't incentivize business growth and manufacturing back here in the United States.
I totally agree. And I think that tweet just shows the stark contrast between a Trump presidency and a Biden presidency. Look at one of the first things Biden did was come in and shut down the Keystone Pipeline. Here you have Trump, who's not even in office yet, promising to bring manufacturing and jobs and incentivizing it for companies. So I know so many of us are just so excited for January 20th.
We're ready to go. You can't get here soon enough. You know, there's been some talk, Alex, about me, my future, what that might look like. A lot of people suggesting that, you know, potentially I could fill Marco Rubio's Senate seat, which I'm honored to be in consideration for that. I don't know if I'm really in consideration for it. It's obviously up to Ron DeSantis, but there are a lot of stories that have been written about me and this and everything else. And my father-in-law was actually asked about that in particular in his press conference as well. And he was very nice and said that nepotism is something that comes up a lot. But he said, you know what, Lara earned everything. She really worked hard. And I hope I did. I hope I proved myself. But what was amazing is to see the way the media has to twist everything when it comes to a Trump in particular. Here's just a little page out of one of the articles that was written. Here's the title. Are we really supposed to believe Trump will allow a woman to carry on his political dynasty? Let me read you a quick excerpt. While it may be true that Lara Trump is the member of the Trump family who has most adequately and publicly demonstrated her political prowess in leading the RNC into a Trump victory, she is also not of Trump's own blood, which may matter in dynastic politics. She is also a woman. Alex, this is the same media who wants us to believe that men can have babies. These are the same lunatics who will just lie right to your face and tell you the craziest stuff. This is the kind of garbage they're putting out now. It's really something.
Yeah, it's interesting because people, thanks to the brilliant podcast strategy that Trump did at the end, I think normal people are starting to understand President Trump and all these lies about him. It's just never been true. He's never disrespected women. He immediately started picking all these amazing women, and not necessarily the type of women you would expect. You know, Susie Wiles is not a front and center person. Tulsi Gabbard was a former Democrat. I mean, he as Linda McMahon has gotten a pile driver on national television. I mean, these are not necessarily people you would expect would be leading government. And yet he's the first picks he made, and they're great picks, and his audience loved all of them. We love them all. So we've just been lied to about him. He's always been great with women, and he's been unafraid to elevate strong women because he's a cheerleader for this country. He said so himself. It's one of the things he's best at. It is something that he and most of the most successful people I know do, is that he thinks he's great. Yeah, he's got a big ego, all that stuff. He loves being surrounded by other great people. It thrills him. That's what he loves to do. And he's not going to care about sex or gender or whatever. So it is so absurd that people put their name on that stuff. It's so embarrassing. I got to figure out who wrote that, because that's unbelievable.
I'm embarrassed. I'm embarrassed for them. Sabrina, that's the whole thing. Is I feel like they constantly are like, let's see what we can get to stick with Donald Trump. And now somehow the suggestion from this article is because I was not born a Trump, that Donald Trump would never want to elevate me because this is all about continuing the lineage and the bloodline. It's ridiculous. He wants good people in positions that matter because he wants people who are effective. He doesn't care what you look like. He doesn't care your religion. He doesn't care your gender. He's never cared about any of that. And he always says, when it comes to me, he's like, she was in that position because she was going to do a great job, and I knew she was going to do a great job. But I kind of, to go back to what I was saying in the beginning, when we first started talking, I feel like this stuff people are just not interested in anymore. And I really hope that the media has taken note of what happened on November 5th, that they are going to be totally irrelevant if they don't start to tell the truth to people. People are desperate for truth. Alex just talked about all the podcasts out there. People are seeking their information from alternative sources. They just don't buy this crap anymore. It's just gross, and no one is interested in it. Do you think they'll take the note that the people gave them on November 5th?
I really hope so, because it's exhausting to keep up with. First, it was,
Yeah.
okay, Trump is a sexist and a misogynist. Oh, now he's appointing too many women for these historic
Yeah.
roles. Oh, the women he's appointing, well, they're not the right women because they're not his bloodline. Like, they're losing the plot at this point. And it's ironic because they claim to, be feminist and empower women when actually all they do is tear them down, especially for someone like you who worked so hard, contributed to the historic win on November 5th, but they can't even give you the credit of that. They just have to, roll their eyes and put out these snarky articles about there's no way Trump's actually going to put you in any position of power, or just that he would even give you credit for the good work you did when he clearly has. It's like people are reading between the lines at this point.
I sure hope so.
Laura, can I say on
Yeah.
your behalf, I hope you get it, and I think you earned it with the RNC work. I think that's way good enough of a resume item, and this country, we can act like we don't like nepotism or whatever, and it's like I mean, the Clintons, the Bushes, the
Bidens.
we would love to see. I first of all, I want Trump to run in 2028. I want him to run in 2032, and then we can pass it to we have Trump. That's all. And look, I hope this triggers someone on the left. We'll do 40 years straight Trumps.
Yeah.
I don't care because you guys are good.
Well, we certainly have learned a lot, and we certainly understand the pulse of the American people at this point. I think there's no doubt about it. Thank you, Alex. That's very nice. I appreciate it. Here's something just to wrap us up that really, I just have to end on this note. I consider myself to be quite a good speller. I won most of the spelling bees back in my day, not to toot my own horn here. But the Scripps National Spelling Bee is basically like the big one. Like that's the one you always see on TV. The kids are out there spelling. Apparently, they're going to allow, wait for this, Sabrina. You know how you spell women, W-O-M-E-N? Understand that? We all know how to spell that word. They're going to allow the alternative spelling of this, W-O-M-Y-N, as an alternative used by feminists to avoid the word men in the actual word. It's I don't know where we're going with this, and like when people are going to stop being so absolutely insane. This one kind of sent me, I'll be really honest, that we're just making up words and making up new spellings so that we don't use the word men inside of another word. It is insane.
I honestly feel like this is just the new Latin X. So,
Yeah.
and as a Latin
How'd that
X
go?
woman with a Y, I can wholeheartedly say it is so embarrassing. But I think that this stuff like this is great because it highlights how ridiculous things have gotten, especially in education, when you realize, oh, now we are understanding why half of American children across the country cannot read or write and are struggling in math and literacy. Maybe it's because we're so concerned with these social initiatives and misspelling words and changing reality that the kids cannot keep up. So hopefully this is a wake-up call for a lot of parents.
Is it Latinx or is it Latinx? How do you
Latinx.
say it,
It's
Alex?
pronounced Latinx. Everyone's got this right. No. This is the women's spelling. This is what we call TERF. If you don't know the term, get to know the term. Trans exclusionary radical feminism. This excludes trans women. Trans women are not included if you're changing the spelling of man in the word women. And
There you
on
go.
behalf of all trans women, I'm offended. I'm outraged.
Oh, we're sorry we had to offend
this
you.
cannot
at the end.
stand. This cannot stand. We should disband the entire spelling bee, and everyone should have to watch the TikTok videos of great crazy libs for the rest of the night.
I got to be honest. I hope that people really push back on this because this is why people voted for Donald Trump, because they're like, enough. It's enough with this nonsense. I don't know how this is going to go. I hope nobody spells women with a Y, because it's outrageous and it's dumb and it's wrong. That's not how you spell it. So listen, Sabrina and Alex, thanks to both of you for spending a little time with us here today. To everybody at home, as always, make sure you like, subscribe, share, and follow. And we will see you back here next time for more of The Right View.
And I won't back down. Hey, baby, there ain't no easy way out.
Nothing is worse than being on a phone call that drops. Nothing is worse than trying to text someone and you can't reach them because your phone is out of service range. And nothing is worse than supporting these major corporations and companies who don't support us. That is why I love Patriot Mobile. They are America's only Christian conservative wireless network. They use every cell tower out there available to all networks so that they have the greatest 4G and 5G coverage nationwide, and they support the causes that are important to us as conservatives. If you go today to patriotmobile.com/Lara Trump and use the promo code Trump, you will get free activation today. Again, that is patriotmobile.com/Lara Trump. The promo code is Trump for free activation so that you can get a great cell plan and feel good about doing it.